Morning, everyone. I think we're live casting as we speak. Welcome, everyone, to the November 1st Bruce County Council meeting. Today being November the 1st is the closest meeting we'll have to November the 11th. We won't meet for quite some time after that. So I would ask us if we'd all rise and observe a moment's silence. Lest we forget. Thank you. Donna, roll call, please.
Councillor Buckle. Present. Councillor Eadie. Warden Eagleson.
Present.
Councillor Ingalls. Councillor Jackson, Councillor McKeever, Councillor Smith, Councillor Toolen.
I'd like to remind everyone it's our own responsibility to close any pecuniary interest we may have on today's agenda. You can do so if and when the matter arises. Confirmation of council minutes, Donna.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Toolen and seconded by Councillor McKeever that the minutes of the October 4th, 2018 council session be adopted as circulated.
You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion on adopting the minutes? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Communications, Donna.
Communications are listed and there's nothing further.
We have a delegation this morning. Amy McKinnon, welcome. I'll let Amy, you can make the other introductions, and we look forward to your presentation. You have a button there to push somewhere that get the mic on. Yeah. Thank you for coming. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Warden and members of Council, for having us here this morning. My name is Amy McKinnon, and I'm the Executive Director of the Owen Sound Regional Hospital Foundation. With me today is Dr. Colin McKeever, who's the Chief of Medical Imaging, and also joining us today is Martin Mazza, who's the VP of Corporate and Diagnostic Images and the CFO for Grey Bruce Health Services. I do represent the Owen Sound Regional Hospital Foundation, but today I'm representing all 5 foundations that raise money for Grey Bruce Health Services. There are 6 hospitals that make up GBHS, 3 of which are located in Bruce County. Before we get too further into why we're here today, we really want to thank Bruce County. They made an investment of $1 million into our recent hospital campaign. That had been paid over 5 years, $200,000 a year over 5 years, and you concluded your last payment earlier this year. Your funds were directed to regional services. All the regional services across Grey Bruce Health Services, 32% of the patients come from Bruce County. In the new hospital campaign, we were able to build a new cancer center, increase our interventional radiology suite, do a regional cardiac management system was established, and so we thank this council very much for that support and that investment into healthcare. Today we're here to talk to you about our MRI. This is an essential service for our community, and it's time that it needs to be replaced.
Good morning. I'm Colin McKeever. I'm a physician, radiologist, and Chief of Medical Imaging in Owen Sound. When I graduated in 1985, MRI services were just beginning to be rolled out in Toronto. By 1987, all the academic centers had MRI units across Ontario. We were lucky enough, after a very successful campaign in 2004-05, to get our first MRI unit in Owen Sound. That was a Siemens machine. It's been a workhorse. It's been highly reliable and a great addition to our department. Bruce County contributed $1 million to that campaign, and we are very grateful for that. The machine is a complement to other imaging services that exist: CT, ultrasound, nuclear medicine, radiography. We currently perform more than 11,000 tests a year on patients from both Grey and Bruce counties and other areas as well. 32% of our patients using MRI services come from Bruce County. MRI is now an essential bit of imaging equipment in modern medicine, and it has facilitated our recruitment of 61 specialists to Grey Bruce Health Services since the MRI service was launched. We would be unable to recruit new specialists to the area without MRI services because they've all been trained with it, and it's all an essential bit of equipment for them. These 61 specialists represent 30 different medical specialty fields. We're proud of our service in Owen Sound. We have one of the shortest wait times in the province. Our wait time for an elective MR is about 29 days. By way of comparison, the wait time for an elective MR in Barrie is 99 days. Next one. Next slide. Okay. A little bit about MRI. It's fast now, it's accurate, it's a non-invasive test using no radiation. It's widely used in medicine for orthopedics. We do a lot of cancer imaging. We do a lot of neurological imaging for multiple sclerosis, stroke, brain tumor, and a lot of spinal imaging as well. It has widening applications in cardiac disease, and we hope with the new MRI unit we'll be able to expand those capabilities further. On this, it's okay. Our unit is now close to, this slide on this inset slide on the right is a MRI slice through the brain of a patient with a malignant tumor. And you can see how beautifully the MRI is capable of differentiating normal brain tissue from the malignant brain tissue on the back of the back of the left hemisphere. Okay. However, our machine, which is almost 15 years old now, is reaching end of life. Parts for the mechanical components of the machine are difficult to source. In particular, we're having increasing problems with our table. That has resulted in our being unable to service patients who exceed 300 pounds. And we're afraid of putting heavy patients on the table for fear that they'll break the table catastrophically, which will mean the end of MRI services. So currently, patients exceeding 300 pounds have to be transferred to another jurisdiction, usually Hamilton, Kitchener-Waterloo, Guelph, or London. If we replace our new machine, our average test time will be reduced. We'll be able to throughput more patients. Image resolution will be greatly increased, and it'll improve image quality. We will have enhanced 3D capability for cardiac imaging, prostate cancer, and breast cancer. The machine will be quieter and more comfortable, and we will have increased capacity for heavy patients up to 600 pounds. The machine will be more energy efficient, and will continue to be a critical service for the recruitment and retention of physicians.
So you might be wondering why we're coming here today, knowing that you just had a recent election. So the procurement process is underway. It's getting towards the final stages of finalizing with the vendor of choice. This is an essential service that will be put into the Owen Sound Regional Hospital in the new year, in the spring, hopefully. I think, Martin, this is timing. So it's sort of urgent. So the fundraising timeline has been shrunk significantly because we just sort of, the foundations were sort of alerted to this need in the fall, and so it's like, oh, we've got to get going on this because we don't want to lose this essential service for our region. So as I mentioned, the 5 foundations are working together to raise $4.7 million for this project. There's a breakdown there. Approximately $2.7 million will actually be the MR and the MR system itself. The renovations, $1.5 million, it seems like a lot. However, as you can imagine, with such a strong magnet, there needs to be shielding above, below, and on the sides all around the machine to keep our patients and staff safe. The refurbishment or rental is going to cost about $300,000, so we don't have the answer yet to what will happen. So there are sort of two options that the executive GBHS will decide between. We could refurbish our existing machine. It is 15 years old, and it could be used during the installation of the new machine and potentially continue being used afterwards for things like shoulders and knees. The second option is the old MR system will leave the hospital and we'll need to rent an MR. We don't want to lose any continuation of MR services during the time where the new MR is installed. Those decisions aren't made by me. Those decisions will be made by the GBHS executive after the procurement process with the vendor of choice is finalized. And then the 5 foundations together have a lean budget of $200,000. Some of you may know Daniel. I'd like to introduce you to Daniel if you don't know him. He and his family run a bakery in Sauble Beach called Luscious Bakery. I got to know Daniel when I was maybe a customer too often when we were at our cottage, and he asked me one day what I did for a living, and I told him, and I'll let Daniel tell his story.
Even though I was born in 1986, I didn't really have any problems in my life besides my little sister until 1993 when I started having seizures. The MRI was immediately beneficial because it provided the doctors a clear picture of what was happening inside my body. When I got my brain surgery, I had an MRI beforehand, I had EEGs beforehand. I couldn't imagine having to put my parents through that with 2 other kids in tow. I'm glad to say that after 20 years of dealing with epilepsy, I'm 20 months seizure-free. And it means even more now that I'm 5 months into fatherhood and 5 months into holding my baby, knowing that she is safe in my arms. And that is something I can honestly not put a price on. It's important to have an MRI in your own community because it promotes a continuity of care. It means so much for a child to have the security, not only of their own house, but of their own community, the same streets. I could take her to her favorite restaurant on the way back. That's the type of support and continuity of care that somebody needs, especially when they're going through a health crisis. Whether it's $5 or $5,000, anything that goes towards this equipment is going to make a difference in somebody's life and make a difference in our community. If I could provide that for my daughter, knowing that in her own backyard the best care was available to her, and not just the best people, but the best equipment, that's a security for her future and so many other children's.
So some of you may know I grew up in Amberley. I went to public school in Ripley, and I went to high school in Kincardine. I'm a Bruce County girl. This is my home. And I strongly believe that we have made the choice to live in rural Ontario, and that does not mean we've made the choice not to have our essential health services in our community. MRI is an essential health service that all the residents of Bruce County deserve to have in our home community. I believe strongly in that, and that's why I took the job that I have about 18 months ago. Today we're here to ask Bruce County for investment of $400,000 payable over the next 2 years, sort of in line with the commitment that you just finished was $200,000 a year. That will represent about 8.5% of the total project costs. We'd be happy to come back with your permission in June of 2019 to give you an update. Hopefully then the MR system will have been installed. And this will guarantee, as Colin mentioned some of the benefits, faster, more accurate diagnosis, shorter waiting times for treatment. It helps people like Colin do their job better, and we deserve that in our community. So is there time for questions, Warden? I'll leave that. Okay. Did anyone have any questions for us?
Any questions of the presenter? Mike?
Thanks, Mr. Warden. Just from your presentation, what's your timelines to see, the new machine or the new MR operational? I noticed you said the new equipment in first quarter of 2019. Is that a purchase, or how long is this work going to take before the machine will be operational?
So we're hoping the machine will be operational in the first quarter of 2019. Martin might be able to speak to this right now, you're close to signing a contract, hopefully with the vendor of choice. Once that procurement process is kind of concluded, it takes about 12 to 14 weeks for the machine to be built. During that time, we'll also start doing the construction. Martin, do you have?
I think Amy has given you the information that we have. We've been going through a pretty exhaustive procurement process, which we're wrapping up. We have experts in our diagnostic imaging department that are actually doing that. And so I do know that they're very, very close to finalizing that. And already work is being prepared on the renovation aspects of where the machine will all go. We always aim to push it as quickly as we possibly can, because I think the first quarter of 2019, or I think you targeted as also June 2019 as a date, which would be nice to be able to say that we're actually treating patients in the new machine. At least that's what we're planning for as we stand right now.
Any other questions or comments for the presenters? Janice?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Thanks for the presentation. That was wonderful. I'm wondering, is there any market for this old machine somewhere? If you choose not to use it for knees or hips, is there a market in a northern community or something that could use it?
So the MRI machine is composed of mechanical and non-mechanical parts. The magnet from the old machine is one of the best magnets Siemens has ever built. It's uniform, it's highly stable, and that magnet will last forever. It's the mechanical parts of the machine, moving parts, that are becoming difficult to maintain, particularly the table. If you don't have an operational table, you don't have an MRI. You can't move somebody into the thing. And a northern community would have just as much trouble as we do in procuring parts and maintaining a failing mechanical thing. So Siemens, who sold us the machine, are able to market this somewhere more, or market parts of it. It'll probably be broken down for parts. I don't think it can be sold as an operational unit in the future.
But you could take some of that revenue to offset this?
Yes, we could take some of that revenue to offset this. Now, so if the new magnet goes into the old suite, then we've got a 3-month period there where we have to continue to offer MRI services. We have to rent a mobile MRI. That cost will be several $100,000. These are very expensive services to maintain. We have to bring an MRI unit up on a truck, establish a bay for it in the parking lot, power it, redo the access to it through the emergency department. That's an expensive proposition. So our preferred proposition would be to build a new suite beside the old suite, keep the old unit running, and then have a switchover, and then we can decide what we're going to do with the old machine after that.
Any other questions? I don't, no other questions at this time?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a second, Kelly has a comment. Question, comment.
Through you, Mr. Warden, my question is directed toward Amy in terms of if you could explain to the council the balance of your fundraising campaign in terms of what you're doing with the public to raise the other funds, what your program entails.
Sure. So we have a fundraising goal of $4.7 million. I'm thrilled to let you know that we're over $1 million already raised on that. So we're doing a few things. We are running a Catch the ACE program that's going to net a little bit of money. Because of the short timeline, a lot of the foundations have been using existing fundraising tools and directing the funds to the MRI. So for example, Southampton recently held the Grand Fondo. That was an event they were going to have anyways, and some of the funds raised from Grand Fondo were directed to the MRI. In Owen Sound, we do a very robust Christmas time direct mail. It's called our Guardian Angel campaign. This year, we've chosen to direct all of those funds to the MR. That should donate, we should get about $300,000 in donations from them. The majority of the donations are going to come from individuals that we will ask for gifts of $5,000 and more. So we are out there in the community. There'll be an official launch between the foundations and GBHS on November the 13th. Although this is sort of one of the world's worst secrets in the community, people do know it's coming. So we are exploring various revenue-generating avenues. And we are asking, we're here today to ask you, we will be approaching Grey County as well, and some of the other municipalities. We do have to be mindful that the hospital campaign was very successful, and there are people in our community who continue to pay off those pledges.
Nothing further at this time. Thank you very, very much for your presentation, and I wish you all the best with your MRI. Moving on then to reports from staff. Betty Ann?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Today is in the corporate services agenda. There is a financial information report related to our integrated energy performance project that we began in 2016. But I did want to highlight it in open council. At that time, you will recall, we awarded a request for proposal to provide integrated energy performance contracting services to Ecosystem Energy Services Incorporated. And during the last 2 years, there have been a number of measures implemented, including chiller replacement at both Bruce Lee and Gateway, boiler replacement at both long-term care facilities and the Park Street Administration Center, and lighting upgrades in those 3 facilities and the Museum and Cultural Center. These 4 buildings were selected as they account for 82% of the county's natural gas consumption and 82% of electricity usage, excluding our housing units. As part of the program, the installation of an electric vehicle charger was approved for the Administration Center, and it is used daily. Recently, our partner Ecosystems installed a large mural on the garage wall beside the charger that publicly demonstrates our commitment to energy efficiency. And I'm sure you've all seen that mural and the message, going the extra mile to make it green, continue your journey, plug in here. Directly, it will not save Bruce County money, but it was proposed and approved in light of the ability to attract attention to the benefits of energy efficiency measures. Beginning the project when we did allowed us to take advantage of almost $150,000 of incentives that are no longer available. The projects, totaling $3.5 million, is financed from our annual savings of approximately $360,000, and the expected payback period remaining is just under 7 years. It's been a very exciting project, and today we want to celebrate the project's success. As part of the contract, Ecosystems was required to deliver a marketing awareness campaign to staff, and we agreed upon a tote bag with the county and Ecosystems logo for every employee. And they've been delivered to all the offices for distribution to staff, and today we have one for each member of council and the media. So we just wanted to celebrate our success of that project today. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty Ann. That's very encouraging. It was a huge, huge project, and it's really nice to see the payback is happening. 7 years, that's, so congratulate you and your staff and everyone that was involved in that project. It wasn't even the energy savings that we needed, but we were replacing aging equipment that needed replaced anyway, so it's been a fabulous program. Does anyone else have any comments or questions of Betty Ann around that program? If not, at this time, inquiries and announcements. There's one on the agenda. Andrew was unable to be here today, so we're going to take that forward to the December County Council meeting. So that's deferred. Inquiries and announcements. Took you long enough.
Just let everybody know that I'm putting my name forward for warden for 2019.
Thank you, Mitchell. Any other inquiries or announcements? Nothing more at this time. We have some minutes to approve then.
I have a motion moved by Councillor McKeever and seconded by Councillor Toolan that the minutes of the following committees be approved. October 4th, 2018, Executive Committee, Homes Committee, Human Services Committee, Museum Committee, and Paramedic Services Committee. October 18, 2018, Human Resources Committee, Planning and Development Committee, Transportation and Environmental Services Committee.
You've heard the motion to approve the minutes. Is there any you got a mover and a seconder? Yes. Yeah, that's good then, yeah. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? All those in favor of the minutes, approving the minutes, that's carried. The press is in the room. We're going to go back to inquiries and announcements. Any inquiries or announcements, Mitchell?
I guess for the second time, I'm putting my name forward as warden for 2019.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Notice of motion, other business, bylaws.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Councillor Ingalls that the following bylaws be adopted. 2018-070 is a bylaw to authorize the execution of an amendment to the Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Education and the Corporation of the County of Bruce for the 2018 Child Care Service Agreement. 2018-071 is a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease agreement between the Corporation of the County of Bruce and Samdu Holdings Incorporated to provide rental office space for housing services and housing facilities. 2018-072 is a bylaw to adopt Amendment Number 231 to the County of Bruce Official Plan. 2018-073 is a bylaw to authorize the execution of an extension of lease agreement with Joseph Wyshun and Joanne Wyshun Lee to provide rental space for a Bruce County ambulance station in Port Elgin. 2018-074 is a bylaw to repeal bylaw 2018-035, a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the Corporation of the County of Bruce and the Town of South Bruce Peninsula to facilitate the cost sharing of water main improvements and reconstruction of Jenny Street in the Town of Wyerton. 2018-075 is a bylaw to authorize the transfer of easement in favor of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brockton for stormwater drainage. 2018-076 is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the County of Bruce at its meeting held the first day of November 2018.
You've heard the motion to adopt the bylaws. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the bylaws? That's carried. Thank you. We're to the adjournment part, and I got to thinking about that, and this will be the last opportunity I have to share the mic with you and speak as warden. And by golly, I pledged you 11 short months ago that I'd behave myself and not cut up too much and try and get the business done. And you got to admit, Dave, I've been pretty well behaved. Hey? I think so. But today I thought, well, I haven't told any stories today, but the heck with I'm going to tell you a story, even though we're live streaming. And I said this live streaming stuff's coming in. I just said to Betty Ann, this isn't good. We won't be able to say stuff we want to say when we're live streaming. And Betty Ann told me, just go ahead and be yourself. Well, that's what I'm doing. So this little frog, his name was Kermit. He goes into the bank. His last name was Jagger. He goes into the bank and he wants a loan, $30,000 loan. He wants to travel don't worry, this is okay for next company.
He noticed I wasn't
He wanted a $30,000 loan because he wanted to travel the world. So he goes into the teller, and the teller says, oh, I can't do loans here. You'll have to go over to one of those cubicles over there. Is the loans ladies over there. And he goes over, and there's one girl available there, and her name was Patty Wack. Miss Wack was, he sat down, and Miss Wack, he explained his situation, that my dad is Mick Jagger, and I want to see if I can get a loan for $30,000 so I can do some traveling. Miss Wack says, well, you'll need some collateral. What do you have for collateral? He reaches into his pocket and he comes out with this little pink ceramic elephant, Bob. He says, that's the collateral? He says, yep, that's my pink elephant. Well, Miss Wack was pretty confused with this and says, well, I'm going to have to talk to my manager about this. So she goes over to the manager's office and explained the situation. I got Kermit Jagger in there, and you know his dad, and he wants a loan of $30,000, and this is what he has for collateral. He says, "What the hell is that?" He says, "It's a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the frog a loan, his old man is a rolling stone." Any other thing before adjournment? Motion to adjourn?
I have a motion moved by Councillor Ingalls and seconded by Councillor Smith that we adjourn to meet again on Thursday, December 6, 2018, at 9:30 a.m. in the Council Chambers, Bruce County Administration Centre, Walkerton, Ontario.
Thank you, O Canada, I bet you.